I was originally going to make a video on the conference finals as a whole, but screw it. I graduated college, I don't have a job, let's talk basketball, motherfuckers. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. The Boston Celtics should probably be able to win this series in about 5 games. I'm sorry to say, and it's in no way an attempt to discount the Miami Heat, but it's true. On paper, they are a better team in just about every way. And yet despite that, Boston is down 2-0 after completely fumbling home court advantage and are now going on the road to try to keep their season alive. I'm gonna start with the Celtics and then go to the more positive stuff on Miami's side to end the video with, so to get things moving, I want to talk about one of the biggest reasons I think Boston is finding themselves in this predicament, and that's their 3-point shooting. I'm not typically one to hyperfixate on any particular stat after 2 games of a series and make any grand statements or assumptions, but that being said, the Celtics' 3-point shooting so far in this series has definitely had an impact on them dropping 2 relatively close games down the stretch. Compared to their season average of 37.7% from behind the arc, and an even better 39.6% during the first 2 rounds, Boston's 31.3% 3-point shooting so far has been a key reason they haven't been able to shut out Miami in either of these games. Another standout has been the lack of stellar performance from their star player Jason Tatum, who has still managed to fill up the box score just fine so far, as he always does, but he's been a less than efficient leading man. Boston's 3-point shooting struggles can definitely be characterized by Jaylen Brown's 15.5% from beyond the line, but Tatum's around 30% clip from there isn't really helping either. And the dude has just made some careless mistakes in closing minutes, including 2 traveling violations in the final 3 of Game 2. He's had 9 turnovers over these 2 games and has averaged a -5 box plus minus so far. A BPM, for those who don't know, uses a player's box score information, position, and the team's overall performance to estimate the player's contribution in points above league average per 100 possessions played. I don't want to harp on Jason Tatum and dogpile the reason the Celtics are down 2-0 onto his performances only. The reason I led with him is mainly just because he's supposed to be the guy, and the Celtics rarely win when Jason Tatum doesn't show up. Outside of number 0, the team isn't rebounding great. They have a total of 15 offensive rebounds over the first 2 games, as opposed to the Heat's 62 defensive rebounds. I've talked about how the Celtics can tend to live and die by their 3-point shooting, meaning even when it's not falling at the lethal rate that they can be known for, they just keep spamming those shots, and when everyone is getting ready for another unwarranted 3-pointer and isn't trying to get down low and push to secure rebounds, it's just... When you're not shooting great and you're not crashing the boards, you're losing out on so many second chance opportunities. I really think guys like Al Horford and Rob Williams need to be locking up that end a bit better. As 6'10" big men, they're both averaging 5 rebounds total a game, and it's not like the Heat have some massive size or physicality edge over Boston, so they need to make their presence there felt more. Focusing now on the Miami Heat, who, I guess in fairness to the Celtics, have played incredible, not just in these 2 games so far, but in this year's playoffs in general. This team, it's just so damn good, and Eric Spoelstra, he's probably the best coach in the NBA, right? I'm not 100% sure, but listening to him after the first 2 games, man, he's just got such a mind for basketball and seems incredible at rallying and leading the team in the ways a coach is supposed to, but he's also really good at letting the team work through hiccups themselves, as they should also be able to do. I want to make it clear, this isn't that, oh, here come people saying, wow, the Heat are pretty good, after not watching them at all this season, then turning on the playoffs and being surprised that they can compete against literally anyone. No, I've been acutely aware of the Heat's ability to ball with the best. I absolutely thought they were going to win Game 7 against Boston last year and go to the finals. I didn't make content back then, so there's no receipts of that, which is the fun part, but regardless, I didn't think the Milwaukee Bucks were going to have a walk in the park against them either. And even with Giannis out for basically 3 games, beating the Bucks in 5 without home court advantage is a tough task. As for their semifinals campaign, I don't want to talk about it, okay? I don't know if there's anything particular I need to say about Jimmy Butler, not at least that hasn't been said. It's going to be really interesting to see where this guy lands all time, not that that's what we're talking about or even remotely relevant to any conversation about the actual hoops. I really don't want to turn into one of those guys on First Take who makes every game out to be a legacy game or something. He's just one of the greatest playoff elevators in the modern NBA, perhaps in this game's history. Something that is still continuing to amaze me, however, is the production of the Heat's rotation guys, which I guess I probably shouldn't be all that shocked by at this point, but I can't help it. These dudes are playing out of their minds. Caleb Martin has had 2 of his 3 highest scoring games in his playoff career against the Celtics in these first 2 games. He shot a hair under 43% from 3, only had a single turnover over both games, and has averaged a steal and a half and a block per game. Gabe Vincent has shot 44% from 3 this series, but honestly, you could convince me that this dude has been shooting like 65% because I swear I haven't seen him miss. Kyle Lowry and Max Strus have also been hitting some really timely shots so far, and even guys like Duncan Robinson, someone who's been played off the floor in past playoffs, and Cody Zeller, someone who most considered largely a non-factor, are finding ways to contribute. Miami's whole mentality is next man up, and they are embodying that to perfection. I initially thought the loss of Tyler Hero was going to be a critical deficit to the Heat's overall offense in these playoffs, but they've found so many ways, and this is where the admiration for Coach Spoelstra has to come in, to get everything out of their guys and look like one of, if not the most cohesive team in basketball. So, as for the rest of this series goes, I do have some closing thoughts. For one, Boston fans, it's not quite time to prepare for defeat. The Celtics have actually been a relatively better team on the road these playoffs. They closed out the Hawks in the first round while in Atlanta after losing Game 5 at home, and they lost Games 1 and 5 in Boston to the 76ers before Jason Tatum casually decided to score the most points in a Game 7 in NBA history. Oh my god, I swear. Okay, quick tangent. Jason Tatum stinking up the arenas with his shooting performances in like 2 of those games versus Philly, arguably putting Boston in that down 3-2 position, and then being awful in a do-or-die Game 6, only to come back and give an all-time performance in Game 7 while making the game completely unreachable for the Sixers by like halftime, is just the most Jason Tatum thing ever. He's getting hit with the inconsistent label a lot. I've even hurled it at him before, but I saw someone make a point that even though his literal game-to-game performances can vary wildly, he's pretty consistent about closing things out when it matters, and I agree. In general, 4 conference finals and a finals appearance in your first 6 seasons is not inconsistent. It's genuinely one of the more impressive feats out of a young player I've probably seen, but I digress. So yeah, as I was saying, the Celtics have been pretty good on the road so far these playoffs. I would look for them to be better than they have been, or at least better down the stretch than they have been in these next 2 coming games. I mean, they kind of have to unless they want to be vacationing in Cancun by the end of next week. I didn't really mention Bam Adebayo when I was talking about the Heat, but he's been great. In Game 2, he had a huge rebound and dunk during Miami's 24-9 run in the last 6.5 minutes of play that sort of felt like the killing blow in terms of completely wiping away Boston's spirit. He's played the glass well, and he shot pretty decent. I could get on him for not taking more shots, something I generally wish he did more of, even though a lot of the times it's because of the flow of Miami's offense and not deliberately him not shooting. But I'm not going to, because when the rest of the team is shooting so damn well, why mess it up by spamming contested mid-ranges and fadeaways? As for predicting the outcome of this series, as is the obligation of an NBA YouTuber, the crippling indecisiveness within me wants to say, hold up everyone, let's at least see how Game 3 goes. And if the Celtics were able to tie this series up while in Miami, I would say the Boston Celtics would win the series in 7 games, but losing the first 2 games at home to start things off really is a massive blow to a team's overall chances, and the Heat have just been the better team in general during the playoffs so far. Ultimately, what makes the decision for me is I just don't see them losing 4 of the next 5 games with the way they've been playing. So, I think the Miami Heat will win this series in 7 games and advance to the NBA Finals. To play who, you may ask? Well, you'll just have to wait for my Western Conference Finals video. Haha, I'm getting better about being shameless. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. Enjoy the playoffs, everyone. I'll be back soon, but until next time, take care.